Wacky Wednesday, everybody. How are we doing? Back at you again with my Move the Chains podcast. How are we doing? It is Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. Curls for the girls. I got a great workout in today. Can I get a hell yeah, brother? You sure can. We can get a hell yeah, brother. So, I didn't know what I was going to talk about tonight. I know I've been doing these division predictions and recaps. Great having you guys in tonight, by the way. However, I saw Cooper Kupp yesterday, got traded. He requested a trade. Kind of Myles Garrett-esque. I want to dive into that off the top, and then I want to go in the AFC South, where I think all these teams could go, what's going on. I'm not going to do a Liam Cohen duo, okay? Sounds weird saying it. That guy's a goofy motherfucker. But I want to touch on the Cooper Kupp thing. So, Cooper Kupp, as we all know, Super Bowl champion a couple years ago, had the MVP, Triple Crown winner. He's been great. And all that is noteworthy. I get it. He's battled injuries. He's played banged up. He's a tough guy. All this stuff, and I appreciate it. Matthew Stafford and the connection with him, even with Jared Goff back a couple years ago, all that's great and dandy. However, here's the problem that I have with that Cooper Kupp thing. He's got a $20 million cap hit for a guy that's aging. And the thing that brought me to this, and I had this on my mind tonight, was, if anybody's ever seen Moneyball with Brad Pitt, there's that scene where they're talking in the scouting room, and they're talking about David Justice, right? And then Brad Pitt's having that meeting with him. This is what it reminds me of. Like, it's almost that level. Now, it kind of is, because if you go in the movie, and I've read David Justice, like, looked him up on Wikipedia during the movie, he did win World Series, and he was a great player, and in his prime, he was great. But it's almost like the ROI is not a great thing to do for this situation. What I mean by that is return on investment. And Cooper Kupp's been a great player. He blocks hard, he works his ass off, all this stuff. But to compare it to David Justice is right. He's not the same player he used to be. Now, would a crappy team like the Raiders or something like that bring him in? Yeah, sure, you can get a year out of him. And you have to eat that $20 million in money in his salary. So, okay, maybe. But I was thinking today what his market would be. And my gut feeling is, I was at the gym tonight, ran into a guy who's a Redskin fan. He said the Redskins wouldn't hate it at all. The Redskins were very smart last year. Brought over savvy veterans, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, a lot of the Cowboy players that Dan Quinn knew in Dallas during his time. But I do think that when I look around the league, Commanders would make sense, the Packers would make sense, Lions maybe, but I feel like you're paying already Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Jamal Williams. So Derek Solomon and Mike Kesnick know this better than anybody. I don't know if that would work, but I do think the Redskins are in play. I think the Raiders could be in play. New England could be in play. Get a veteran guy in there. Because at this point in his career, he's like Deebo Samuel. He's kind of Deebo Samuel light in terms of that. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. And I just can't believe we're 60 minutes away in football. The season's over. But hey, I still got to make content, and I'm still going to do that for you guys because I know you guys love me, and I appreciate you. And we're going to do it. So, tonight I want to touch on AFC South. Last couple nights I did the AFC East, I did the AFC North. Tonight I'm going to do AFC South. Tomorrow night will be AFC West, and I'll get into that tomorrow. So I want to touch on AFC South. So Texans won the division. Kind of an underwhelming year for them. Had a lot of high expectations, went under the radar last year. High expectations, didn't exceed that per se. Still had a good year. They got a really good football team down in Houston. C.J. Stroud had a sophomore slump, but is it all his fault? No, I'm not going to blame it all on him. That offensive line was atrocious. He was getting his brains beat in, and Bobby Slowick deserved to be fired, in my opinion. Because the one knock I have on these Kyle Shanahan guys is they have and I mentioned this the other day, when all that run game stuff's working, and you get the misdirection and the eye candy and the deception, oh my God, where's it going? Woo, 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 woo. And then the drop back, and then it's just play action off of that, and it's bombs, it's big plays in the pass game on slants and crossers and crossing routes, all that stuff. Okay, that's great when it's up. Where's your fastball? Where's your curveball? You're like a pitcher. You got one speed. It's called go. Mariano Rivera fastball. Do you have another pitch? And I'm watching Bobby Slowick this year. Where the hell was his pitch? I mean, I kept waiting for it. And listen, they ran the ball better. So that helps your offensive line out a lot when it's struggling. Run the ball. Take them out of pass blocking situations. Pass protect. Okay, so they did a good job of that. And that was a great signing by Joe Mixon, getting him and all that stuff. I love what the Texans have done. DeMeco Ryans is a rocket ship. Now, again, the whole ref thing, I'm not going to speculate on that in the playoff game. However, they screwed up more than I thought they should have. Botched, the opening kickoff and 8 sacks taken. You can blame the refs all you want. And maybe some of that's true. I'm not trying to dispute that. I moved on. Okay? But you had chances in that game to win, and you didn't close the door. I'm just telling you. So, moving forward with the Texans, I do think they're going to be a playoff team again. As long as you got C.J. Stroud and that coach coinciding together, and with Nick Caserio running ship up there in Houston, down there in Houston up in the front office, you're going to be a good football team. I still think Houston is. To me, this is still Houston's division to win. I'm going to touch on the Colts in a second. Trey Sutter and a couple other guys I know, huge Colts fans. And Ryan Bensley, I had to throw him out, my buddy from college. Colin King and a couple other guys. Bensley Steelers, I'm tripping here. But my point is Houston's still winning this division. But my question is with Houston, can you get the offensive line right? Because I love C.J. Stroud. I like him a lot as a guy. Where he'll be in 10 years, we don't know. Because I thought, if you said a rookie year, it was C.J. Stroud all the way. Bryce Young's a bum. Fast forward, a year and a half later? I mean, Bryce Young played better down the stretch than C.J. Stroud did. So, we never know. Circumstances kind of play a part in that. But Houston's still going to be a good football team. They are loaded on that defensive line. I mean, those two pass rushers. Will Anderson's a badass. And then you got Danielle Hunter, who was a stud in Minnesota. Got him from the Vikings to the Texans. Really good signing by that staff. In personnel in Houston. So, Texans have won the division. I think they're going to win it again next year. I don't know with ease, but I think could be in the mix. The Colts, to me, are just a weird thing right now. And I know Steve French, my dad's friend, was talking to me about it. He doesn't get Chris Ballard. Maybe he's got friends in the media. I don't know. I like Chris Ballard a lot. I think he's built a good team. I think his problem is at the moment when they take Anthony Richardson, it's like, yeah, I get it. All the physical traits add up. But I've seen this before. Trey Lance had all these traits. How'd that work out? Blew up in the Niners' face. So, again, I like Shane Steichen. I love their offensive line. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. UW, baby. Go Badgers. I love everything about the Colts. Their defense ain't bad. They got a new coordinator in there. We'll see how that manifests and see if it can be better. Stopping the run and not giving up the chunks. Maybe some different creative stuff in the defensive back end will help the Colts out a lot on that defense side of the ball. So, I do think the Colts are fine. I think they just got to figure out Richardson. You got to cut your ties this year. If it ain't working, it ain't working. Stop hanging on to it. But I think they're good enough to get in the playoffs and maybe be a wild card team. I'm not sure. Maybe. But we'll see. So that's my Colts take. So Jacksonville was third. And then Tennessee I'll get to in a second. But Jacksonville's in a weird spot. Because there is talent on that roster. There is. I love Evan Ingram. I love the running back. The pass rushers are nice. There's pieces there I like in Jacksonville. But it's now a new sheriff in town, Liam Cohen. Duval. Sounds like a goofball. Okay? But I'm not going to judge him. Nick Sirianni had a shitty press conference. He's in the Super Bowl. Okay? Let's not pipe down, Mom. We got to chill a little bit, okay? But my point is with Jacksonville, I think you blow this thing up. I'm out on Trevor Lawrence. I've said it from the jump. He's not the guy. If he comes out before the draft, by the way, note to NFL general managers, if you have a quarterback coming out in the draft and he tells everybody, quote out loud, yeah, I like football, I don't love it, alarm bells need to be going off in your head because this guy clearly doesn't want it bad enough. He doesn't. And Trevor, listen, he just, to me, I'm out. I'm ad nauseum. I thought about this on the way home tonight from the gym. What else going to talk about on here about the Jaguars? I'm out on Trevor Lawrence, okay? He reminds me of Kyler Murray, roller coaster of a player. Now, Kyler Murray's got other issues, maturity, all that stuff, but he kind of falls in that same realm. Never lost, had it easy. I don't know if he's a grinder. All this stuff kind of adds up, ding, 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 ding. And I look at Trevor Lawrence, and even Trent Dilfer had this concern about him coming out of college, which is very true. When his feet get, when you're a quarterback, you shoulder width apart, right? It's like when you're swinging a bat at baseball. Trevor Lawrence's problem was when he would be too wide in his feet, and it would sail on his throws. Watch the games. So do some research, guys, when you're watching, football games and stuff, mainly Jaguar games, because I had watched Jaguar Raider game. Didn't need to win that one, besides the point. My point is with Trevor Lawrence, is he that guy? I don't think he is. But you're stuck with him because you gave him $200 million because that's what desperate franchises do. Stupid shit, stupid prizes. That's what happened with Jacksonville. And, could Liam Cohen get the best out of him? I believe he could. I mean, there's something in there with Trevor. There's talent. I saw it 2 years ago, but it's just very far in between. And I'm hoping that they'll be better. I think they should be better on offense. But I don't know. I'm out on Trevor Lawrence, and we'll see what happens. The Titans are in a weird spot. Listen, I got family in Nashville. Listen, I've been kind of on a Titans. They're kind of weird to me. And I've always had this theory. Like, the AFC South and NFC South are in college towns. Like Tennessee's got Nashville, Volunteers. Georgia's got the Falcons. So it kind of the college atmosphere kind of overtakes the NFL. It's not to knock like the NFL teams, but the Jaguars, the Panthers, the Titans, it's more college town than NFL. But when I watch the Titans, I go, they were bad last year. And listen, I finally come to the realization, I'll give it up. Will Levis is not fixable. I know, he was my guy coming out. I loved him coming out of Kentucky. But then I got to go, well, Liam Cohen was behind his success, and then he left, and then Rich Scangarillo came in, and it was a shit show. And I just think Will Levis, to me, is accomplished Jay Cutler coming out of college. And I see a lot of it. Big arm, dumb decisions, judgment's a little off. Now, in Will Levis's case, I think he's more likable than Jay Cutler, but I can kind of see some of the parallels. SEC school, Will Levis was a 4.0 student. I believe finance. But there's some stuff to like with Will Levis, the arm, the strength, all that stuff. But he just makes too many bad decisions. I mean, where he's staring guys down like he's a rookie. And his pocket awareness is kind of bad, but the offensive line stinks. Now, they got my Aunt Colleen, Aunt Colleen's buddy Bill Callahan on the staff, and they got his son Brian. So I do think there's some momentum going in Tennessee. They got a new GM from Kansas City who's seen that model, been there, done that. How's that going to translate? I think the Titans were in games last year. They were. I watched the Packer game. I watched a couple Titan games that were on. They were in games last year, so they're obviously competitive, and they're playing hard for this coach. But you see the talent disparity in that division. I mean, Texans, Colts are here, Jacksonville, and then it's like Titans are here. So I think Tennessee could get up to Jacksonville's level, but I just think there's a lot of parts that got to go their way. If I'm Tennessee, we'll see how far the draft is. We've got a long way to go. But don't be shocked if they take Cam Ward because they're getting a new stadium. They need some new juice, some new adrenaline for that fan base. They could do that. Or you take the best player available in Abdul Carter and you pair him up with Jeffrey Simmons. That's going to be nasty. Because their defense already, their front four's got some nice players to it. So think about that going forward with the Titans. So that's all I want to talk about here tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. Wacky Wednesday. Move the Chains podcast. We're repping it. Hope you guys are doing well. Adios. Stay tuned. Have a great night.